Hi there, Mr. Evans here with the fourth video I've recorded in this AQA Business Studies review, looking at Unit 3.1, what is business. In this lesson we'll be looking at some common business objectives. So far I've done a video on why businesses exist, looking at these common business objectives, which we'll be coming back to briefly in this lesson. I've had a look at the relationship between mission and objectives, and going to go into a bit more detail, pulling it all together really in this video of common business objectives. So, as I've explained in a previous video, businesses set mission statements. Okay, now a mission statement is the business's overall guiding purpose. Okay, so for TED, that was spreading ideas. For Google, it was organising all of the world information and making it universally accessible. These are quite almost vague aims. It's not really clear what the business specifically is trying to achieve. It's a guiding star that's leading us within the business, but it's not overly clear exactly what the business is doing. So we need to make that a bit clearer. And so how do we do this? Well, we break our mission statement down into some aims and objectives. So what are they? These are the aims that the common business objectives that AQA identify. And I've talked through these in a previous video. Now, when I was taught A-level business, when I learnt this, we were taught very specifically mission statement, aims and objectives and the difference between those things. AQA seem to have moved away slightly from that, covering everything under the sort of banner of objectives. But I think it does help in your understanding of this topic to differentiate between a mission statement, an aim and an objective. So I'm going to quickly go over that now. So the mission statement, as we've mentioned, it's the overall purpose of a business, all right? Can be quite vague, not really overly clear about exactly what that means. So the business will then set itself some corporate aims. By the corporate aims and corporate objectives, I mean it's set at the top of a business. It's set by the managers, by the directors. These are the big picture, what the business is trying to achieve. And the corporate aims are medium to long-term goals that enable a business to achieve its mission. So Google will set themselves the aim of making a profit, as might a small corner shop newsagents type business. Okay, both of them have the aim, the corporate aim of making a profit. But those two organisations will mean two very different things by that. Okay, if Google were to make a profit of £1 million in a year, that would be considered a very poor year for Google, whereas a newsagent that made a profit of £1 million in a year would be exceptionally happy with that. So we need to break down our corporate aim even further to explain exactly what we're trying to achieve. So we do that by setting our corporate objectives, which are short-term goals, very specific, that will enable the company to achieve its aim. And from there we can go even further. We can set ourselves some functional objectives for the marketing, the people, the operations department, so that they have very specific goals that enable the company to achieve its corporate objectives, which help it to achieve its aim and enable the business to achieve its mission statement. Okay, so we are moving from big picture, long term, right down to very short term, specific targets. So we'll have a look at a couple of examples. So a good way to make sure that an objective is really clear is to set a SMART objective. So the first thing that a SMART objective is specific, which means it's very clear what needs to be done. That it should be measurable, so there should be a numerical target attached to that objective. It needs to be agreed by all of the people involved in achieving the objective. if somebody sets you an objective, they say this is your target and they haven't consulted you on it, you may find that that's an unrealistic objective, and it could be demotivational. So agreeing the objectives with everyone who's got to achieve them is really important. If you've agreed an objective with the people who are involved, it's likely to be realistic. It's no good setting a target that's impossible to achieve, because in the long term that will be demotivational as well. And finally, we need to set a date by when to do it. So it's really clear when we're working towards achieving these goals. It creates a sense of urgency and will mean that people are working towards doing something by a set date. It also allows us to set a date to review whether we've done that or not, and maybe we need to look again at the goal at that date. So let's just have a look at a couple of examples of some SMART objectives. So we set ourselves the corporate aim of making a profit. Well, let's have a look at how the operations department may contribute towards that. Okay, so we want to make a profit. How are operations going to support? Well, operations may support the achievement of this aim by reducing packaging costs by 20% by the end of 2017. We've taken this quite vague aim of making a profit, and we've said, right, well, what are we going to do to contribute towards that? We're going to reduce our packaging costs. That's very specific. By 20%, it's measurable. And by the end of 2017, it's time constrained. Is it agreed and realistic? Well, it depends on the context of the business and how that objective has been set. But that gives you an idea of how we can make our aim of making a profit a little bit more clear in how we're going to do it. Let's have a look at one more. Okay, growth. Well, we want to get some growth in the business. Well, how are we going to do that? We are going to try to open some new branches. Okay, growth might mean that we're growing on one site. Well, you know, we've made the aim of growing a bit more specific here. What we've done is we've said, actually, we're going to grow by opening 5 new branches. That's very specific. It's also measurable, because we'll know if we've done 3 by the end of 2017. We haven't got it. And of course, there's our target date to achieve it by. Okay, so 2 SMART objectives there to enable us to make it really clear what we mean by these relatively vague aims that we have set. Okay, so just to summarise, mission statement is our guiding purpose, is what we're working towards. Our corporate aims and corporate objectives. What are we working towards in the medium term? Our aims at a kind of a managerial level. What are our corporate objectives? How are we going to achieve those aims? And let's make it really specific for each functional area, how they're going to contribute towards achieving our goals. Okay, so that's common business objectives. I hope that helped.